Retirement funds last longer if they pass the L.A.S.E.R test. In this episode, I'm going to address the question, how long will investments last in retirement? Well, that's a function of rate of return, but also several other things that most people don't think about. So get ready to learn and become enlightened. So I'm Doug Andrew, and what do I know? Well, I've been a retirement planning specialist for more than 46 years, and I've helped people understand how to optimize their assets, usually for long-term goals such as retirement for 46 years, but also how to minimize unnecessary taxes and make sure they don't outlive their money. So when people ask me that question, how long will investments last in retirement? Well, golly, that's dependent upon several variables. The biggest one is, what rate of return are you earning? But rate of return isn't the only consideration. But see, a lot of people have a lot of money sitting in banks earning 1%. That's pretty pathetic. You're rowing upstream, so to speak, at 1 mile an hour, and the current of inflation comes down at 3, 4, 5, 6%. You're going backwards. You're going to run out of money because the cost of living will double probably every 7 to 10 years. So what you may want to consider, golly, I need to earn a rate of return that is equal to or greater than the cost of living increase, what we call inflation. So a quick way to analyze inflation is to understand the rule of 72. So let me explain what that is, and you'll always be able to sort of think off the cuff, off the fly about what the cost of living may be 5, 10, 15 years down the road. So before I explain the rule of 72, first of all, whatever you have your money in, your investments in retirement, they have to be earning collectively, safely, predictably on an annual basis at least as much as you need to live on. Hello? Okay? So if you're used to living on $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, and you need that, and after deducting maybe what Social Security may provide or whatever, you need to be able to make sure that your investments are earning on an annual basis predictably and safely, on the average, at least what you're spending. Or else you're going to run out of money just because you're spending more than you are earning in interest on your investments. Now, with a calculator, you can say, well, golly, I'm going to pull out this much money, and I can show you if you were to pull out this much money. For example, the financial services industry says only pull out 4%. So on $1 million nest egg, that's 40 grand. But if you pull out 40,000, you have to pay tax on that. If it's an IRA 401k, you only might net 30,000 or 28,000, and then they charge you fees, and so you have to look at what the net is. But you're pulling out 40 grand, and if you're only earning 3.5%, which is what the financial services industry says the average person earns, L.A.S.E.R reports people with money in the market average about 3.5% because they're buying and selling at the wrong times. Well, if you're pulling out 40,000 and you're only earning 35,000, what's going to happen to your nest egg? It's going to slowly dwindle. So you can calculate based upon your life expectancy, are you going to outlive your money or not? But that's not the only consideration. So rule of 72 says, you know what? If you were earning a specific interest rate, let's say 5% interest, and I put in a lump sum, let's say, of $100,000, how long would it take for my $100,000 to double to $200,000? You take 5% interest, divide that into the number 72, and that will say 14.4 years. So it's going to take about 15 years before your $100,000 doubles to $200,000. So if it's earning 7.2%, your money will double in 10 years. If you're earning 10%, 10 into 72, your money will double in 7.2 years. And I've been averaging a little over 10%. So my money doubles every 7.2 years. 125,000 will double to 250 in 7.2 years. It doubles to 500,000 in the next 7.2 to $1 million, and then 2 million, then 4 million, then 8 million. I have clients who started out with 125,000 one-time lump sum, and 30 years later they have $8 million. But it's generating 10% payout. That's $800,000 a year of tax-free income. But see, you use the rule of 72 to calculate inflation. So if inflation is, let's say 5% in that example, the cost of living will double every 15 years. So if you could get by on $3,000 a month, it's going to take $6,000 a month in 15 years to buy the same gallons of gas and loaves of bread that $3,000 a month bought 15 years earlier. And in 30 years, it's going to double again. You're going to need $12,000 a month to buy the same haircuts and gallons of gas or golf green fees that you could have bought for $3,000 30 years earlier. Well, guess what? Inflation really is more like 10%. 10% because of medical costs and everything else. 10 into 72, your money's going to double every 7.2 years. Well, the cost of living will double every 7.2 years. So if you could get by on $5,000, in 7.2 years, you're going to need $10,000. In less than 15 years, you're going to need $20,000. Okay, in 22 years, you're going to need $40,000, and in 30 years, you're going to need $80,000 to buy what $5,000 bought 30 years earlier. This is what we call the tax and inflation power curve, because people don't calculate the tax effect. If you pull out money, if you pull out $150,000 out of $1 million nest egg, you pay tax of a third, 50 to net 100. And that's why people outlive their money, because they're not earning 15%. If they're earning 10%, they pull out $100,000, they only net $67,000. And the cost of living is required that they take out more and more money. Well, even if you tightened your belt, that $1 million nest egg that requires that you have to pull out 50% more, $150,000 in a 33% bracket, okay, to net 100 to buy gas and groceries, because maybe in 7.2 years, you started out with 50,000 to make sure you lived. Now you need double that, 100,000. Your money, your nest egg, your $1 million would be gone, drained dry in 11 years. That's the question to ask. Can you put your money into something that inflation will help you instead of hinder you? You come along for the ride. You link your returns to the things that inflate. You convert your retirement money to something that's totally tax-free. Make yourself immune from taxes, and make sure your money is immune from market volatility. So let me review those 3 huge dangers here, and I'll connect the dots for you on how you can do this. So it's easy to say that your nest egg needs to earn on an annual basis, predictably, at least how much you need to live on. Because if you're pulling out more than it's earning, it's going to deplete it. And sometimes a lot of retirees outlive their money because their investments aren't anywhere close enough to make sure they can retire for 20 or 30 years, or the rate of return is not providing enough to meet their minimum lifestyle or standards, and so they have to downsize and what have you. But many times they don't realize what's happening to them because of the negative impact of inflation, the cost of living increasing every 7 to 10 years, doubling, and also on top of the taxes, but they think they have to make it up, and they put their money in the market, and now they have market volatility, and they lose big time, 40% sometimes when the market dives. So what I have always recommended is that with your serious cash, that money for retirement that you do not want to jeopardize, put it into an investment that passes the L.A.S.E.R test. L.A.S.E.R, liquid assets safely earning returns. The L stands for liquidity. I prefer a max-funded indexed universal life because it passes the liquidity test with flying colors. I can access money anytime I need with an electronic funds transfer or a phone call. The safety, okay, the S stands for safety. I want to make sure that whatever I set aside is safe in the institution, but also that I don't lose money due to market volatility. And any year that I make money, that becomes newly protected principal. I don't want to ever lose in future years money I paid in past years. That's called lock-in and reset, which I explain in other educational videos. But then I want to earn a predictable rate of return. I can't be rowing upstream at 1 or 2 miles an hour when the current of inflation is coming down at 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. I want to link my returns to the things that inflate. Indexed universal life allows me to link to an index so that inflation, I don't like it any more than you do, but it doesn't hurt me. It helps me. If inflation's 10, I've earned 15 and a half. If inflation's 20, I earn 25. I've always earned at least 5.5% higher than the inflation rate at the time. So you want to link your returns to the things that inflate so that it actually helps you if things inflate. The last thing is to make sure that it's tax-free. Make yourself immune from taxes, inflation, and market volatility so you don't outlive your money. So let me show you how you can learn to pass the L.A.S.E.R test and which investments pass it with flying colors, because most IRAs and 401ks don't even score hardly 50% of what they could if you have your money in the market in traditional IRAs and 401ks. So I've helped thousands of people eliminate those dangers, make themselves immune from taxes, inflation, and market volatility. I do that with my favorite vehicle, which I call the L.A.S.E.R Fund. And so my 11th book is actually titled The L.A.S.E.R Fund. I want you to learn about this. This is 300 pages. There's 200 pages of charts, graphs, and explanations if you're into numbers and you're more of a left brain learner. If you're a right brain learner, you learn by stories. You read this side, which is 12 chapters with 62 actual client stories on how to accumulate, access, and transfer your money tax-free for goals other than retirement, but especially for retirement, but college funding, emergencies, real estate, business, working capital, and so forth. I want to gift you a free copy of this book. It's yours for free. You can claim it by going to laserfund.com. I'll pay for the book. You just simply pay $5.95 shipping and handling, and if you like the audio and the video training too, there's options there. But go to laserfund.com and claim your free copy and begin to empower yourself so that you will never outlive your money, and you're never going to ask the question, how long will my assets, my investments last in retirement? You want a strategy where as long as you do.